Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the first time to the Electric Vibe podcast. I am Kurt Hoffman, and as usual, holding down the fort with me, the ultimate wingman because this pilot needs somebody to help stick the landing. That would be none other than JD, the Electric Man Silva. JD, sir, how are you?
Kurt, I am well. You know that I'm always well when we're together, but I am especially well tonight because we have our soul sister with us, Miss Tonya Giddens, who fills in and hangs out
Yes.
with us and graciously shares her time. Tanya, how are you?
And well, gentlemen, and hello everyone out there. Happy whatever day of the week this is because I'm old now and I don't remember what day of the week it is sometimes.
Who you telling? But we're not getting older, we're getting better.
We're more seasoned.
I like that. Okay. We're going to take that. I accept that. And we're
I,
also especially excited today because we have a great guest on today, someone who is a friend to all of us and especially a friend to the Electric Vibe podcast. And that is our man, Lawrence Law Worrell. And because of the relationship, Tiny, that you have with Law, it is very fitting and very beneficial that you are here with us to talk to Law about some upcoming events, to talk about his career, and especially to talk about his upcoming gig at the Cutting Room in New York City, covering some Prince songs, doing a special tribute to Jelly Bean Johnson. The Cutting Room in New York City on April the 17th. If there are any tickets left, you better grab them while you can because this show is going to be hot. It's going to sell out. And at this time, we would like to welcome Law to the Electric Vibe podcast. And Law, welcome. How do we find you tonight, my man?
Chilling, maxing, relaxing, on every cylinder, just getting ready for all it is, but remaining faithful and thankful and blessed and just happy to be. Not even to be me, just to be.
Yes, sir.
I
I
hear
hear
that.
you.
Welcome to that.
And we know that you have a lot of things going on, a lot of things in the pipeline. We see you obviously all over social media. But what we want to talk about first and foremost is your gig at the Cutting Room in New York City, Friday night, April 17th. Please drop knowledge on next week's show.
I mean, well, before I even drop knowledge, let me just kind of, for those that know,
Ah,
I take this
oh,
shit very seriously when it comes to my idol. I mean, everybody who's known me long enough kind of knows.
oh,
So I just, for me, it's another day in the office, but for anybody that's
wow.
ever been to any Prince Thomas show that I've done, and let me put emphasis on this, which I probably never done before. It was never meant for me to do a series of those because when we lost him, everybody, I had a show that week. So of course, most of my fans that know the relationship and my history within the Minneapolis confines, they were expecting me to come through. I was expecting myself to come through. I'm like, I know they're going to expect me to do something. And it turned, I mean, no, Tanya tell you, it turned into a thing of its own. It really became a thing where people just kept requesting it. And once we went to Minneapolis and did that first show, shout out to Jeffrey Luna, who helped make that happen.
Sir.
It just took on a life of its own. So, I mean, for the last probably, I think we've done about 9 or 10 so far, 10 or 11. I lose count of these things. We've done about 9 or 10 or 11 of them. And people know what to expect and what not to expect. And the one thing that they could always guarantee is that, we're not going to just stay within the confines of Prince's mainstream successful stuff. That's easy. I mean, of course, we'll give you a few of those things, but we never lean on that. Prince has such a vast catalog of some of the most amazing stuff, and we take bits and pieces and put them all in the form of where you're not bored the whole night, and we segue and we have so many transitions and we like to surprise people. That's why every now and then when you see the reaction, they'll be like, oh man, no, none of the other bands do that particular Prince song. They don't even go to that album. They don't do that. And we thrive on that. So once we started getting that kind of reputation, plus they already know it's authentic, the energy is there. We're living proof that you don't have to wear eyeliner and wigs to present and be in the mix of that. Even though there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just making a point. Like for us, we got respect by being Brooklyn authentic, but still representing everything that Prince did, even in image and visual, and of course, most importantly, in musicianship. So it's going to be a party. It's going to be a throwdown. It's going down like Jim Brown at a pimp convention.
Oh, you always bring the
I'm,
I mean, he's entertaining right now. It's like you can't help it, man. This is who you are. You are just but the positivity is there. That's the most important part, the celebration aspect of it.
I mean, I mean, the thing is, and that's for any one of my heroes, not just Prince, but just, everybody who's been following me long enough. I wear my heroes on my sleeve as much as I do my emotions. And speaking of which, I know y'all got the news. Rest in peace to the one and only, one of my first supporters who used to
Mhm.
bring the Zulu Nation to our first show when we first
Yes, I
started
saw.
playing the bitter end and all that stuff, and
Yep,
Toshi's and on Broadway, the legendary African Bambaataa. He would show
yeah.
up and they would stop him and be like, "Man, African Bambaataa, what brings you here?" And he said, "I came to see Law and the Planetary Movement."
I'm gonna tell you right now,
So
Planet Rock changed my life, okay?
that's the one.
My of all people who turned me on to it was my mom, actually. She was all about
Me too.
more
Wow.
bounce to the ounce and Planet Rock around the same year there. Come
Wow.
on, man. I did get to see him DJ for Ice-T at Lollapalooza in '91, and he introduced him, and I went, "Shit, that's
Mhm.
Zulu Nation over there.
Yes.
Okay, alright." I
Mhm.
was like, "What?"
I mean, that's the thing, man.
Yeah.
I just, and I have all the videos. I'm probably gonna post it later. Again, it's a reminder because as y'all know, in the last couple of months, of course, the start of losing Jelly Bean, I'm
Yes.
just like everybody else. I'm still fighting it, and it's
Right.
probably gonna be a forever fight. But now to add, so for me, as I took a minute to kind of reflect on African Bambaata's contribution and just the fact that this dude came to like 4 of our shows, like he's not obligated to, just like any other legends that came to see us rock, and T can attest to that. We've had a lot of people come to our shows just to hang and support and see what we're doing. And, when you have a legend like that, Planet Rock was one of the first records that my mother bought when she saw that her sons were getting deep into this hip hop thing. So the thing is, it struck a chord. So again, rest in peace, African Bambaataa. This is why I do,
Yes.
you know.
But he specifically is like, am I wrong, or he's the beginning of electro funk
You
because
know, honestly,
he name drops Kraftwerk, Each Me Sun Chi. I mean,
yeah.
he was all about that, the electronic
Craft work.
stuff.
I'm gonna say this: craft work and definitely Midnight Star,
Oh, sure,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
because Freakazoid,
Mhm,
Electricity,
mhm,
and you can kind of throw Zap in there too. But the reason why I say
yeah,
Midnight Star more so because Midnight Star really owned in on the Supreme Electric part. And then on the West Coast, it filtered over to the West Coast with Egyptian Lover, like all the early records
yep,
that Dr. Dre was doing in Yellow with Royal Cast Wrecking Crew
yep,
before they formed NWA. To
mhm.
me, all that is in there. But of course, African Bambaataa is definitely right after
Gotta talk about
because if it
him.
wasn't for the sample of the Trans Euro Express, we would
Mm.
I didn't even know what Kraftwerk was until I went to my uncle's collection. Then that's when I
Yep.
made the connection and like, oh, so that's what, yeah.
I saw them at the Electric Factory in Philly.
Oh man.
They had 4 high-def 3D cameras, and when they
What
did
what year? What
Trans-Europe
year?
Ex
What year?
2015, Ralph Hütter, was still in the band. He's the only guy left. Ralph, is it, I think. At any rate, when they did Trans-Europe Express,
Mhm, mhm. Sure. I mean, look at the influence, man. We wouldn't have
yeah,
Daft Punk if it wasn't for
come on.
That part.
again. So
I
Dead Mouse,
yeah,
any of them.
any of them, and that's the subgenre within itself. But here's the kicker: just like most things under the umbrella of the Black music experience, without the funk, there wouldn't be any of it.
Yes, sir.
Or look at the it's like a transmitter. Remember how they used to have the old plugins before we had the digital stuff? And you had to
Yeah,
basically what the funk became. The funk became an auxiliary plug for all those different things because all of those guys that came
okay.
after, they borrowed stuff. And of course, at the helm of it, we don't mention him enough. I mean, I say it, I spent 5 hours with the man, Stevie motherfucking Wonder. So
Oh, come on.
he's really the helm of that too, because remember,
Tonto,
he was
Tonto.
digital. Yeah, he was digital before digital was
Mhm.
digital.
He took the Tonto, and for those who know what Tonto is, if you don't,
Yeah.
you better ask somebody. That was a synthesis. It's in Canada, actually.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we're gonna talk later. There's a podcast episode you need to listen. We'll talk later on
Absolutely.
about that alone.
Yeah.
And you see Greg Phillinganes has broken it down on many
Another one.
keyboard podcast websites, how Stevie achieved that. And then Jam and Lewis take it, the Gap Band take it, Teddy Riley take it.
Course.
How Come on. Why would you? Well, why wouldn't you? Digital underground. I mean, Humpty Dance. I mean, what would you be without that?
In a lot of ways, Digital Underground, and rest in peace to my big brother.
Oh,
I
man.
spent a lot of time with Shock. So the
Shock
thing is,
G.
what people don't
Yep.
understand is that
We were just talking about him. Yep.
here's a funny story for you, real quick. Digital Underground is one of the reasons why I created Planet 12, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm.
Because up until I heard of Digital Underground, I had this insane thought that, with the exception of the rappers who sampled P-Funk, one thing to sample P-Funk, but my first group was called the Bionic Idiots, which was named after a George Clinton phrase from Mr. Wiggles. He says, "Three Bionic Idiots." I took that name from that. And it was called LA Law and the Binding Idiots, because my whole thing was, at the time, this is so funny. At the time, I'm 12, 13 years old. At the time, I felt like, outside the samples, George wasn't getting his due for a lot of shit that he helped create. They would sample him, they would have him in the videos, but I felt like when it came to the Grammys and all, that's funny, like 20 years later, now they finally started giving him his flowers, and how Palm Funkadelic changed the whole skate. But at the time, they wasn't giving him that. So I felt like calling my group that, and then having each of my band members dress into different things. So I wore the colorful wigs, just like Gary Scheider. My boy James had the diaper. Like, we were trying to represent that. So I'm thinking we the only ones that had not only just the whole sample, and plus me being the main producer and instrumentation, and the MC in it all. I'm Dr. Dre. I'm producing and rapping and singing too. All of a sudden, I see this group from the Bay Area called Digital Underground comes out. So obviously they sampled, "Don't do me." I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. And then, Humpty Hump, aka Shock G, he has the whole nose thing, which is Sir Nose. And I'm like, these guys are dope, but the rhymes are horrible. Now, mind you, that's how I felt in the beginning. So I'm like, man, we better than these motherfuckers. That was a mistake. And after a while, when I realized that we weren't the only ones, then I became a Digital Underground fan. I started. My friend had the Sex Packets album. Once I got the album,
Come on.
I was like, you know what? These dudes ain't have that. That's why it's so funny when I think about it. I'm like, these dudes ain't have that. I heard Do What You Like, and I was like, okay, you know what? These boys are pretty dope. So fast forward about probably 10 years after that, my dream comes true. I end up producing for George Clinton. I become part of the P-Funk Army. Of course, who do I end up hanging out with? And I told Shock G all this,
Shock.
so I told him everything. I'm like, beginning, we ain't like y'all motherfucker. And it wasn't an East Coast, West Coast thing, because NWA is my favorite rap group. So it wasn't about the West Coast. It was about, we the only ones that's doing this P-Funk shit. But then I realized that would be very stingy of me, because that's how much influence Palm Funkadelic has on everybody. I mean, look at Prince. Look at all my heroes. They all borrowed a chapter or a piece from P-Funk. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Tonya.
Yes.
So tonight we're getting, folks, you're not getting one shot of the Brooklyn. You're getting a double shot tonight, Espresso Brooklyn.
Yes.
This is a treat to have both of you here representing. What does all the things you were talking about, Law? Tanya, I want to hear your perspective. What all these the melting pot, Law, when we had you on, and I want to hear Tanya's opinion on this, because you talked about how Brooklyn is the ultimate melting pot of all these musical influences. I want to hear it from a woman's perspective specifically, because there's a different lens to be had on a lot of the stuff that's going on in Brooklyn. What does the musical diversity and cultural diversity of Brooklyn mean to you?
First of all, let me say, where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Now that I've gotten that out of the way.
Oh, yeah. I get that out.
I think that with just New York City, period, is such a melting pot of culture, of food, of
Mm.
everything, and everybody puts their own little spin on it. I mean, growing up, and Law can attest to this, back in the day when we had 92 WKTU, we had Paco, we had Carlos De Jesus, we had Lamar Renee, we had Carol Ford, we had Al Bandero, we had Joe Causey. We had all these different personalities, and they were playing different types of music that everybody could relate to. I can remember when KTU was KTU, when they played Debbie Harry's Backfired, produced by Nile Rodgers.
Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they would play Backfire and then go into Don Armando's Second Avenue Rumba Band, Deputy of Love with Fonda Rae. And then the Crown Heights Affair. The
Mm.
BB&Q band, Conversion, let's do it, let's do it. There's nothing to it. You know, it was just
Right.
such was just kaleidoscope of musical colors that we'll never get back. We'll never get back. The industry has changed too much for us to get that kind of diversity. And of course, the deity himself, and debate your mammy on it, the one and only Frankie Crocker
Crocker, yes,
had the
ma'am.
foresight. Him, Vaughn Harper, Ken Spider Webb, Champagne, you know, Frankie Crocker broke Heart of Glass on BLS, That is the
Yep.
musical diversity that I miss. But as far as Brooklyn, I can't really say Brooklyn, yes. There was a particular BT Express, and I know.
Oh, he knows a little something something about BT Express.
I would hope so.
Absolutely.
Too.
Shoot, Kashif.
Oh, I've
Kashif
got
went to
his
high school
book.
with my Kashif went to
Oh,
high school with my sisters.
Got his songwriting book. It's somewhere here in the library.
yeah.
If I have a chance, I'll pull it out. I mean, that man, I have all the respect in the world for Kashif, man.
Kashif
He
is so
was,
underrated.
you
So underrated.
preach it, preach.
I created a Pandora station of just Kashif, and I listen to all the influences that he's done. I mean, Lala, LaForest Cole, come on now. LaForest co-wrote You Give Good Love,
Love for
Whitney's
Whitney
Good
Houston.
Love, and it is just, for me, that type of music will never be the same. And my friends laugh at me because they'll always say, why are you listening to that old music? Because it still matters. It still
Yep.
matters. All this, I don't know
All
what
the
this
time.
drill stuff is, this drum, this trap music. I don't know any of that. I'm sorry. I'm telling my age.
Huh.
But when music is timeless.
Right, right.
And that music is definitely timeless.
For me, having said that, Tonya,
Mhm.
we know the importance of that type of music, and Law, the importance of keeping that vibe and that music, and especially live music, alive and at the forefront. And I know that's what you're all about. So having said that, if I bring it back to the show on April 17th, can you talk about some of the brothers that you will have, or brothers and sisters that you will have with you that night?
Well, of course, my crew, the Planet Soul Movement, my loyal soldiers of all things funk, rock, R&B, hip hop, jazz, even dance music, EDM. We take it to house music. All my guys, my longtime friend, one of my best friends and my partner, Lord E. Errol Hibbert on guitar. Of course, the heartbeat of the situation, Mr. Dorsey Scott Parker.
Yes, I.
The Deacon himself on bass, Cecil Sanchez, Neil Spitzer, longtime sax guy, and now the new baby of the group, my boy Al Gonzo on alto sax. We have two keyboard players that night. We got my boy Paul Bloom, and then we got the young legend himself, Divine T. You didn't know. It's going to be insane on all
Wow.
degrees. Considering. And of course, my amazing, fabulous aunt, Angela Nene Taylor, on backgrounds and as well as lead. And last but certainly not least, one of my senseis, legend on all accounts, from the Village to Brooklyn to everywhere else. If you know anything about Jason Murden, I don't have to say anything else. Those who've been to Cafe Wine Groove for the last 20, 30 something years, then you already know. That's one of my big brothers. I got a lot of my stuff from that poured into me when I was coming up on the scenes, and played in my church as well. As a matter of fact, him, Guy, and Dorsey played them. No, him, Sky, and Cecil all played in my church. So it's a lot of history there.
And that's going to be a tight band. I already know.
Yes.
Band's going to be tight, What are you looking forward to seeing and doing most on the 17th?
Just acting a fool like I always do. That's I mean, when you live in the you've seen clips, but T's been to, I'm very, it's tight. There is a structure, but there's a certain looseness too. And the thing is that I felt that what people don't understand about Prince, now we understand it because we're diehard aficionados. I mean, you got to remember, you're talking to someone that would stay up to watch Prince on Arsenio Hall because you knew he was going to bring something different depending on what the album was. But at the same time, you also knew that Prince is going to do something to either tear down the roof, shock value, as we all know he's a master of, depending on what was going on. And also talking to the same kid that begged his mother to purchase the Sign of the Times movie on VHS, which at the time, as y'all know, VHS tapes were not cheap back then.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Right.
remember how much I spent
My
on it.
and my mother bought it, and me and my brother watched that thing every single, and I'm not exaggerating, every single day, because we're still like understanding the
Mhm.
mechanics between the transition of where he was, and then curious and like, wonder what he's going to do next. I mean, okay, now you're on your butt ass naked on a flower petal, look like a flower seat, and it's love sexy. I'm like, okay, that's a little bit odd for me, but you know what? It's Prince. Let me hear what he's doing. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to shocking the people because again, our reputation is that we do the B-sides and album cuts that a lot of those other so-called units don't touch. And I'm
Yeah.
only repeating what I hear from other, you want to call them critics, you want to call them people that just want to see what we're doing. And like I said, I'm the kind of person, when you hear more of it, what do? You do more of it. So my thing was like, that's a power strength. When people would say things like, nobody does Live for Love. They did Space. That's what, and I'm like,
Mm.
and these are just things, and
Wow.
mind you, we don't hear that from the people. This is what we do when we get together to rehearse. When we put together a set list, we just sit there and just be like, okay, we'll have some repeat offenders for certain things, but then what didn't we do in the last show? And somebody just be like, yo, Lord, do blah, 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 blah. We should do that. And every time we do it, because we already know what the reaction, because of course, with this show, like all the other shows, there's the mainstream Prince fans. We love them too. We love them. But then there's the Prince fans that know, even if I took a groove and put another Prince song on top of it, they're like, wow, he did that.
Yes.
And that's what the real aficionados want to see. So I'm basically just looking forward to just being as wild and not to quote Mars Day, but to be as wild and loose as possible. So
I'm with Come on.
the energy of what would they expect? Because even if I would have never discovered Prince the way I did, that's just my Scorpio energy in general. Brooklyn Scorpio at that. So that's just the whole vibe of it.
So I gotta ask you, Law.
Mhm.
It's the 10th anniversary of his passing coming up, as we all know. What extra layer does that add to the whole thing for you personally?
I mean, like we were talking before, I think, it's, you see, I'm struggling with it because the thing is,
Same.
it's it's one of those situations where you have to ask everyone, even though people know, like, where were you? And then I
Right.
look back at certain things, I'm just like, you know it really doesn't surprise me, and that's my own theory, and I'm going to stick with it simply because of the fact that Prince thrived so much on mystique that when it began to unravel a little bit, he became even just a little bit more normal, even though he's always been normal, but just more so when it's outside of the confines of what he built. Interesting to see. So when that moment happens and you think about it, every single time it's a responsibility. And the fact that I met him, and it wasn't even a whole bunch of words when I met him, but just that connection right then and there for those 2 minutes, and just
Yeah.
me kind of, letting him know, you know, you're probably the main reason, but among all the other guys who we both look up to, it's part of that conglomerate too. So
Yeah.
like with all my heroes, I mean, I'm still dealing with Sly.
Yeah.
And mind you, again, me, Prince, Lenny, anybody and then look, same year, D'Angelo, who I also had a chance, who I spent time
I
with.
know.
Affects me deeply. I never met Sly. I played with Larry though. Played with Larry, hung with Larry. It's like
Yeah, I remember.
on Larry dad. So that's why
You
those
did.
moments I had with Graham, I laid, and no, you couldn't tell me nothing in those situations, because same thing with D. The 2 times me and D met and talked music. So imagine me in that state. So it's the same thing with Prince. And the thing is, it's like he's always there. And something of anything that I do without laying true to that, because Prince was always a fan of artists who did use his foundation but found their own uniqueness within it. That's what he
Yeah.
respected. He didn't like people who cloned him too much. He's like, okay, I get why you did that, but I created my thing because I was a fan of Joni Mitchell, which a lot of guys of his caliber you wouldn't think would be into that. But that's what made Prince unique. He took a little bit of that, a little bit of Rufus. Yeah, if you read his book, and you understand
Yep.
why Tony Maiden is one of my guitar idols, even before I knew that Prince looked up to him too. So you see how that all connects? So
Connects.
again,
Right.
it's personal for me. That's why when I learned all this stuff around this time, and anytime,
Yep.
I don't believe in celebrating his death, but every time that we acknowledge it, in any form, the birth and his death. It's just almost like it just brings me back to that place. And thank God for my mother. My mother, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, non-denominational Christian mom who loved Tremaine Hawkins, but went to the Ritz to go see the Dirty Mind tour. So when you have a mama that was, now you understand why I am who I am. I didn't have a rigid mother. A lot of people, mothers, don't bring that to my house. But my mom, that's how I discovered it. I ended up going backwards because of her. So for me, it brings me back to that place when I'm just discovering and getting deeper and then finding out he's a Gemini, but we're very much alike musically. I'm like, I understand it more than anybody else. And then, of course, I realized as I got older, after discovering, Terrence, aka Sananda, whatever, I still can't pronounce that shit, but Lenny and Maxwell and Eric,
Sananda
all
Maitreya?
those guys. She could, the Matera, I know. It's always a sin. I can't never get that. And I want to respect that man's, but y'all know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
I realized I wasn't alone as I got older. That's why I always say that those guys are important because they gave me more the confidence to follow in my own direction while still using Prince, Stevie, Parliament, Funkadelic, and whoever else that we all were listening to at that
Yeah.
time. And Tony,
Yeah.
in mint condition. All
Yeah.
those grouped together is why I am who I am. But then we all share that common ground because of Prince
Yeah.
Roger Nelson. So
That
yeah,
part.
it gets deep.
Absolutely. I
Right.
agree with what Law says about that. It's just amazing to me that we did not expect, none of us expected for this to happen. We know it's going to happen. Inside joke between Law and myself. Greg Tate did a eulogy about it, and I always quote part of the eulogy on his birthday because he said, in essence, what is this about Prince not being here? He was the one that was going to outlast Michael and was going to have he was going to be coming down to an award show 80 something years old he compared to Chuck Berry. He said with his lady Themetta, because that was Chuck Berry's wife, as they sit there and have these young artists just go through his catalog, perform for him. And it is still
Mm.
a loss because let's be clear. Even his worst stuff is better than half the stuff that is out there today.
Absolutely. Say it again.
Say that,
Say it again.
I mean, and again, debate your mammy, not me.
that part. It's true.
So
True.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
And some of the stuff
People
still
always try to
grows.
compare other young musicians like Duran Bernard. Duran Bernard is his own thing.
I love Durant. I
And
absolutely
he
love
can sing. He sings down. He sings down.
great engineer too.
Yeah, and it's unfair to him to compare, Duran Bernard with Prince because even though Prince is he can say it's not, but I'm just speculating. There's an influence there, but he can never be another Prince.
There is no other Prince. It's just, I mean,
Yeah.
let me not to cut you off. The interjection part of it. What I'm saying is that even when I get the comparisons to my heroes, whether it's the Isley Brothers, everybody kind of know who my main heroes are, where we take a lot of stuff from. That's the whole point because we're heavily influenced by all those guys. So of course you see traces in it. You see every now and then I wear my pendant and my
Yeah.
guitars and everything like that. But I never ever once said, because even before Prince started making statements in interviews about how he felt about certain things that he would see people do that would reek of what he already had done already, he done moved on to the next thing. It was more so about me saying, well, why do people like what Law does? And they would always say, I remember it was two people in particular, Gigi from the Bay Area. She's out there, diehard Prince aficionado. And I remember we did Minneapolis, and she said to me, she said, most of us Prince fans are very sensitive about when people do Prince's stuff. But I got to tell you, you're one of the most authentic people I've seen that do Prince, but still keep it Brooklyn Street, but it still gives the visual of, and that, because I did that on purpose, because I knew, I'm like, that's why I said respectfully, you're not going to see me trying to, that's how my career started. As a kid, when I did Parks Apartment shows with my family, of course, when Purple Rain was out, I had the blouse.
If you tell me you had a ruffled blouse with a purple
Yeah.
trench coat, I need pictures.
No, I did.
I did. I was just going to say.
My mom has the pictures. It was crazy.
You tell Auntie, yes, I need to see pictures of this.
Of
I'll
course.
pay for that.
Send it to please.
Let me see if she can even find them, because she got a whole bunch.
Well, that ain't no
But-
thing if she
Yep.
can't.
Yeah, so but but again, to the point, it's like, that's when I was a kid. Because of course, like any other kid, you do it, you emulate. Because my grandfather used to always say this, my legendary grandfather, Sam Taylor, and I quote him very often because everything he said to me was true. And he always says, everybody gets something from somebody. Because again, the more I discovered Prince's heroes, which were basically my heroes, I didn't really understand it till then. That's what Prince did. He took the best of everybody who he liked, put it in a melting pot, and then gave it a whole nother image. Because as we all know, originally when a lot of labels wanted to sign him, they wanted to dress him like Earth, Wind, and Fire. They wanted to give him the flavor of the
Yeah.
month. And Prince was like, nah, I love Earth, Wind, and Fire, but I have
Yes.
something I want to do. Prince kind of knew what he wanted to do, create the visual. That's why, and mind you, he wrote a song about it. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? We really don't know. And guess what? The more you keep being curious about it, because you keep buying the record and you keep talking about it, he
Trying to
knew
figure
that
it out.
building up conversation
Mm.
would ease into that. So
Right.
again, for me, it was more like, I'm from the streets. I'm from Albany Projects, Crown Heights, Brooklyn. It doesn't get any more street than my area, St. Mark's Avenue. So to be one of the few kids that loved Run DMC and the Fat Boys as much as I love Prince and MJ and everybody else, I didn't have to worry about that, because later on, as we got older, even some of the most hardcore dudes I grew up with even admitted how much Prince fans they were. So the thing is,
Mm.
it gave me such a I already had the confidence because I didn't care. I like what I like. I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I like what the fuck I like. So for me, it was almost like, you don't have to. That was my attitude. I'm like, you ain't gotta listen to it. But my thing is, this is what I like. So when you become more confident in that, it becomes a thing to stand on. So I felt very good in that. And then, as we talk about it now, in effect to what Tanya just said, it's so true. The things that he put out in the foundation of the time that he was here in such a vast catalog, where even people that consider to be the worst Prince album could have 3 or 4 songs. And I'm like, that can compete with anything I hear now. You put that on radio right now, and if they were to support it the way that they did when he was still a vast mainstream artist, then he would get that. But of course, Prince only played the game to an extent. Then after a while, he said, "No, fuck this. I'm not playing the game."
Yeah.
And let's look at it from another perspective. When the musicology tour came, those labels were hot with him
Yeah.
because he was giving the album away with every ticket.
Right.
Yes. They were
He was
mad.
And
he was juking the system
yeah, yeah,
to his advantage
Yeah.
Right.
that's
Right.
right.
because they've been
Still made
juking
his bread.
they've been juking him. They've been juking a lot of artists, particularly black artists. Let's be honest with it. Let's keep it a buck here.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to juke the masters because they're okay, let's just call it out for what it is.
Right.
He was beating them at their own game.
That part.
And they didn't like it. And especially when he of course, when it came to the internet. I mean, he's technically the first, if I'm not mistaken. So I think in regards to that, manipulating that whole process and then direct the consumer. I mean, the MPG Music Club was, to me, I know y'all can go there with this. That was an exciting time to be a
Yeah.
diehard Prince fan.
Yes.
Even though most of us, all four of us in this conversation here, most of us, without telling the sources of our information, even though we had most of the bootlegs that a lot of people didn't have.
Right.
I
Not as
know
many as you
not what
think.
you speak of.
Oh no! Speak of the book, we just ain't telling the place. We ain't telling our sources. But
Right.
for most of us
I
that
know
had
not
it,
what you speak of.
of course, drink water and mind your business.
You
Like,
know,
I'm sorry, say it again.
yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask you because, obviously with the rich musical history and your performances that obviously we've all seen live, so we know how exciting they are.
Thank
Yeah, I mean, the energy is there, the vibe is
Yeah.
there, but can you talk about the preparation? And I'm gonna tell you why I'm asking that because
Look,
I have seen little clips and little snippets of your rehearsals, and you are going just as hard, if not harder, than when you're on stage.
Let me
Can you-
just say before he answers that question, did you not hear him earlier when he said he was a Scorpio? So he's like this.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
how focused he
laser
is.
focus.
Laser.
So is just he's not hearing it, he's not seeing it. It is all about the focus. I've been in rehearsals with him and I see how he goes at it. I see how he goes at it. So I always give props to Law because I'm gonna call that the law.
Thank you.
I give props
Thank you.
because he's like Ice Cube says, he's true to the game.
That part.
And I don't know, with the exception of a few, who have that type of dedication, even in rehearsals. Because sometimes you go in rehearsal, okay, you know this song, let's do it, blah, 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 we done. But the art of making it a real show, a real event is saying, hey, let's change this. Let's change this key. Let's see what happens if we do it in this key. Or let's add this song. Case in point, I'm gonna tell a little secret.
Tell it. This is cool.
I'll tell a little secret. When I did the last show of the Cutting Room with Law and Planet 12 movement, and we had Eddie M and Jelly Bean there, and we were in rehearsal. I'm sorry, I say we because I was like the water girl bringing case.
No, but you was in there.
But they played cameos. It's serious.
Yes,
Mhm.
it did.
Wow.
I came in and I was like, oh, okay, this a groove. This a groove. And it was so dope that Law said, we need to put that in the show. And sure enough, we did.
We sure did.
We did. It was really good. It was perfect. Just like when we did the tribute to Bean. And what was it? Was it Fake?
Yeah, Fake.
Fake. And they're going through it. They're going to get it up. When to get it up.
And it's, yeah.
Law said, I think Get It Up would be good for this. No, it was Innocent.
Yeah, Innocent. Because
It was
it's basically the same song. So that's
Yeah.
why, you know what?
Law
That
said, we need to
I
add
get
this
it.
to the
Yeah.
song. Worked,
Yeah.
So one thing about Lawrence Aloysius Worrell, he's very focused. And in order to be a good leader, you have to be focused. So
And also to be,
props.
thank you so much. And and to kind of piggyback off of what she just said, because when I always get the props for for being a great leader. I always tell people, but to be a great leader, you have to be an even better team player. And you got to remember, I paid my dues in this business because there are times when I've been James Brown, and there are times I'm Bobby Bird.
Part.
You've seen it with Carlton. Like I played a Bobby Bird role because I love Bobby Bird as much as I love James, and because my uncle Tony played with both of those guys, I grew up in it. Some days I'm Morris, and as y'all saw at Club Quarantine with D Nice, I'm Jerome sometimes, and I say that respectfully more so because I'm close to Jerome as well. And no one, I said, no, it's not a replacement. I'm literally paying homage to one of the greatest hype men in the business. So for me, it's me playing a role. So the thing is, I've been in all those situations. And going back to what Jay asked, the preparation for me is number one, mental, because I think about my heroes and my idols. Because remember we're from the era where the amount of work that you had to put in, whether you were Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Ohio players, or of course, my main guys, New Edition. And to quote them, I quote Ronnie DeVoe, who is still, this man's about to be 59 or 60, and he is still the best dancer in the crew. That dude doesn't age. And I remember they interviewed him. It was Velvet DeVoe's Poison, the anniversary of Poison, 30 years. And they asked him, how do
Crazy.
you, crazy. They asked him, what's the thing? And he said very, very candidly, he said, well, we've been doing this since we were teenagers, so we're stuck. But at the same time, if you ain't hitting that treadmill like Ricky, if you ain't playing basketball like Michael Bivins, that's what Michael would have been doing if he didn't choose the music route. Same thing with Jackie Jackson, because remember, everybody knows Jackie was
That's my
offered
boo.
to play with the
That's
Chicago
it.
Cubs, but he chose to sing with his brothers. That's how
Mhm.
dope of an athlete he was. So the thing is, if you're not doing overall sports or swimming like Ralph, because everybody, for those that don't know, Ralph Tresvant's main thing, he's a swimmer, he's a fish. So if you're not doing any of those things to prepare from a physical standpoint to keep
Yep.
yourself in shape, and you think that you can get on stage and do what we do, like he looked in the camera, you are in for a rude awakening. So that's one
Mhm.
part of it too. And again, going back to what I just said a minute ago, I just think about every time the excitement that I watch when I would watch the whole section of It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night from from Sign of the Times, and then even the longer versions I've heard on the repackaging. I mean, I have some of the stuff already, but to hear like the 20-minute versions of these things, because that's being on stage for a long time, playing the same part, and then having to do all these different excursions and interpolations of different things. Like you said, it takes a laser mind. You have to love the music that much. Or as Prince once said in the interview, I just respect the music. And see, when you think about all the heroes that we've lost, By the way, prayers up for Barry Manilow. I'm a huge Barry Manilow fan. And even people like him,
Yep.
subtlety of that sort of reign of being able to switch gears and genres.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be there. And because I'm a hip hop guy too, it's what I call Parliament Funkadelic. Parliament Funkadelic is the greatest example of what I call organized chaos.
Mm.
There's a lot going on, and you may think it's off-putting, even if they were high or not. The bottom line is that everything still came together under one roof. So when I rehearse and I practice, I'm doing all that simultaneously. Y'all don't see the times when I gotta, y'all see, most time when I put the video up, it's pretty much showing you the going hard part, going over certain things, but then y'all don't see when I gotta be like, nope, that note is wrong. That ain't the chord. Nope, somebody's flat. I don't hear the guitar. And mind you, I can say that because they know I don't, very much like Prince and Sheila E. and everybody else who I've known to be taskmasters in rehearsal. I'm very much that. I do it with respect because I respect the music and I respect my band members. But every now and then, time to
Yeah.
see it. I had to put out a couple of fires every now and then. And then most times I'm just like, no, we're not doing this shit today.
Yes.
That's because
Yes.
ending up the day, it's a respect for the music. Most of the guys who I love, that we all love, they're gone. So the
Yep.
first thing I think, I was examples. I'll be like, I'm playing that part right. I said, let me tell you something. You think that if you played for James Brown, that would fly?
No.
And especially because James Brown was known for what? You know what that meant?
Yep.
It's the hit.
Man, Ike Turner.
Yep. Yep.
It meant Ike Turner, exactly. And even if your shoes weren't shined properly, he finds you.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mind you, that's a little extreme, but I understand it. But the excellence in the music part is why between James, Jackie Wilson, Joe Tex, the
Mm.
Temptations, New Edition, even New Kids on the Block, because they had to work even harder. You know why?
Yes. Right.
Mhm.
You
People
know
don't
why?
understand the people don't understand the type of truth. I can name a whole bunch of people. The Stylistics, Blue Magic, and that's actually the blueprint for New Edition for those that don't know. A lot of that is an initial focus to be able to step, play, and move. That's why when they do that, I'm gonna get deep for y'all real quick. That's why when they do the whole Prince and Michael Jackson stuff, I did that on arrival because first of all, those are two of James Brown's greatest students. Let's just call it that's his sons, number one.
Not
Number
wrong.
two,
Mhm.
of course, the Jacksons being my first heroes outside of my own famous family. The Jacksons were first. Of course, how could you be 5 or 6 years old and not keep your eyes on the guy in front? Mike was, as well as all his brothers were too. I love all of them equally, but of course, he's the front man. You see him. But as time went along, this became more of the template for me because I'm a musician. And Prince could play all these different things, but he can put the guitar down and give you just as vicious as a show as Michael would. And not comparing. I'm saying more so it's all high energy. They had different types of energy. They can do 2 or 3 hour shows. And honestly, respectfully, if we had to go there of who can go that long without faltering, I would put my money on Prince firsthand. Not because of him being better or Mike being better. It's because look at what Prince did up until he couldn't do it anymore. This dude would literally do a 2 hour show or 3 hours, depending on what we're doing. Come back and do a damn jam session that included everybody.
Yeah.
I've seen it because I was there afterward. That's a whole nother story for another day. We were there at the World Club when I played with Parliament Funkadelic and Prince at the after party that night. That's the one night alone box set. We were there.
Right.
We were there literally. That's a whole nother story in that. But the thing is that for Parliament Funkadelic, you can't out jam Parliament Funkadelic. I'm sorry. Only band I could say that probably could do that would probably be Fish. Other than that,
Okay.
you ain't out funking or out jamming Parliament Funkadelic. I've done 4 hour shows with my bandmates. You know that already. I've done shows with George where we literally would be on one song for like 20, 30 minutes without losing any luster. So again, to keep answering the question, preparation is the key because I'm respectful and I'm honoring all of the men and women because the Go-Go's, the Runaways, those are my idols too. You know what I mean? So I honor and Climax as well. Shout out to Bernadette. Shout out to Lynn. Shout out to Cinderella. Like I hold true to that. Those things of the way that those folks rehearsed before they stepped out on stage. That's why we're still talking about them when we do podcasts and do all types of stuff. Because today, and again, what Tonya said earlier, there's a few artists that do, and that's why I always tell people, I say, it ain't, when I say support, I don't mean just me. Of course, I'm going to put myself in there, but there's a lot of other great artists who have great stage shows and put out great music. Support them. But of course, the majority is pretty much a lot of rappers and singers that sing over their own lead vocals that can't even do a show within the first 15 minutes. And you got people talking about, I'm tired. Motherfucker, I'm going to be 50 this year. How are you tired? And Tonya tell you, I mean, you seen because she remember, she's been in the dressing rooms and all. You ain't never, and anybody that's ever worked with me can attest, it's not a brag or a cap. This is just realism. You ain't never seen me breathing hard after a show, and you ain't never seen me exhausted after a show. I literally go out and greet fans and bug out with them and take pictures and stuff like that. Nor do you see me limping. My body's
I,
not hurt. And
I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it. Yep.
and I had an accident 7 years ago, and people were scared for me at that point. They were like, "Is he going to return? Is it going to be the same as it was?" And of course, within 6 to 8 months and another year, and they saw them splits come out again. It's like, "You not hurt?" And I'm like, "No." So
And like I said, just the scorpion in him,
yeah,
focused,
determined.
laser focused. Let me just ask this question. Law brought it up. And each one of you can answer this for me. Random question.
You-
I'll ask Kurt first. What's your favorite live album of all time? So,
It depends on the genre.
Law, y'all got a minute to think.
It depends on the genre.
First thing off the top of your head.
Favorite live Black Country Communion live over Europe.
Okay.
Law, you know who I'm talking about.
That's why I said,
Glenn Hughes is one of my heroes.
you don't see my reaction?
I know. Okay, now hold on. You got in that band, it's a super group. You've got Glenn Hughes, the legend on bass vocals, trapeze. What you know about trapeze, Law? What you know about trapeze?
Know a lot about
His drummer went to play for Judas Priest, by the way,
Yes.
Dave Holland. Yeah, I
Yes.
know you know all of that. Okay,
Yes.
so I'm geeking out. You've got Jason Bonham, the son of the Thunder
Come on.
Yeah.
God himself, John Bonham. You've got Joe Bonamassa, who is legit one of the greatest
Yeah.
blues artists of the 20th century. B.B. King, he opened for B.B. King. If you open for B.B., you're okay. B.B. gave you his approval.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
then Derek Sherinian on keyboards. Let's see. Dream Theater, Whitesnake, Billy Idol. He's
Okay.
played for, So for me, but that's one particular genre. Now, if you were talking funk, if you were talking any of the any of the Parliament live albums, Live at the Mothership, it depends. Prince of the Revolution live. But for me, I can't just separate out one live album in music, but that's hard. But that one, the Ballad of John Henry. Okay. Who killed John Henry in the Battle of 1706? What do they use for the drum loop? They use When the Levee Breaks.
Yes. Well, that's one of the most sampled drum breaks of all time.
Rhyming and stealing. What are you going to tell me about that? So,
All right. So you know what?
Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, I'll go. So the
Sorry.
easy answer for me would be One Night Alone. But I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say One Night Alone. I'm going to say, and not for the reasons that you may think. I'm going to say Elvis in concert from 1977.
Okay.
Good.
Oh.
It's the live album from that last television special.
Right.
And it's my favorite live album, probably for what some people will call all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's vocally, it's not very good. His voice is timid and is tenuous at best. If you watch the live recording, he sometimes looks lost, and he's trading on him being the king, right? And and by that time, whether he was sick, on drugs or whatever, he wasn't respecting the craft, I think, the way he did. He was basically trading on his morals. But it's my favorite live album because there's 5 or 6 flashes of what he was.
Mm.
There's something in his when he sings "Hurt," okay, and he summons up that power at that beginning note that he holds, and the note at the end that he holds, and you literally feel that pain. It's almost like, this is what I used to be, and can I be it again? And we know that a lot of the fans came out, they said, oh, he's the best looking guy in the world. And they were basically coming out because he was just Elvis. He sold out every show because people sometimes wanted to come and see a train wreck. And sometimes they wanted to come and see the image, right?
Right.
But, and the band is kicking. You got James Burton on guitar. You got Ronnie Tutt on drums. You've got Glenn D. Hardin on piano. Some of the best, James Burton's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Was it Jordan Ayers in there too, or was that
that was pre? Yeah.
Pre,
So
you're right.
Yeah, JD Sumner in the stand.
Right.
But there's flashes of the brilliance. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me whether you like Elvis or not. You can't tell me he wasn't brilliant. He may have robbed and stolen a lot of things from black music and country music and things like that. Mm-hmm. But Law, to your point, everybody takes something from somebody, right?
Yeah.
But on that album, there's just 5 or 6 remarkable pieces that it just holds a special place in my heart.
Well,
Okay.
Suspicious Minds, he never
Well,
faltered on that song.
Right.
At all.
Right.
That's my favorite Elvis song, by the way, especially like a 1970 Elvis, if I had to pick. And you just went to see the Baz Luhrmann movie,
I did.
right? So you were telling me how electric that was.
It was just magical.
At his prime, he was a hell of a performer. He really was.
Hmm.
But but
Okay, who's next?
Tanya, of course.
Right.
Let me say this. I mean, just like you, Kurt, like it's so many. I have I have a list for pretty much everything if you had to put in categories. But
Right.
so I'm going to go with the two most influential live albums for me. Like I said earlier, the first primary influence outside of my own badass family, the Jacksons live album.
Sure.
Remember, I hadn't. That's from the Triumph tour, '81.
Yes.
But
Mm.
remember, I hadn't. I went to the Victory tour, but I'm saying more so. I'm still like 6 or 7, 5 years old around that time when the live album came out, where you can see it, and it's almost like until I saw the visual part of that tour. The one thing about a live album for a 5, 6-year-old kid like myself, you're envisioning Michael. You already know that he's at that turn where Off the Wall had just came out, I think a year before or 2 years before. Triumph was already the thing now with his brothers, and you can tell Mike was at the height of everything. But I always say this respectfully: Mike definitely could do it on his own, but to me, with his brothers, he was more magical because everybody knew their role, and that's what made it supplement with everything. Because it's one thing when you're that guy in front, but when you got a support system, a proud support system at that, 'cause
Right.
his brothers weren't jealous of him. So the thing is, when you have that support system and how everybody piggybacks off each other, he does this thing with Marlon, and he'll do this thing, he'll make fun of Jackie because he's the older brother, and they just everything was planned. That for me, and the second, without question, Band of Gypsies, Hendrix.
Oh,
But
Yes.
at that point, because yeah, well, I mean,
come on, man. And I know you played with him, so I
yeah,
know. I know
don't,
where
don't.
you.
I mean that. Well, my granddad and Buddy, like him and Hendrix were like this, so that's why it's personal
Yep.
for me. When I learned
Yep.
that my grandfather had a history with both of those guys, it made me dig even deeper because Buddy Miles is my number one favorite
He's
drummer,
amazing.
and one of my biggest. A lot of my vocal shit I do is actually from Buddy.
I was
So
just
for
gonna
me,
say he's an amazing singer, and he never gets the props on his singing voice the way
well, I mean,
and playing the drums at the same time often.
it depends on who you ask. I think the real one. I mean, when you think about people like Stokely, Don Henley, Teddy
Sure.
Pendergrass, Marvin Gaye, these are all singers that are dope ass drummers. And yeah, Mars Day, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. In that moment, because I was so deep into Hendrix around that time, and my mother kind of saw what was going on with me after I had the Access, Ladyland, and the Cry of Love bootleg version.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, all those different things that added on to it. And that's what made it applicable even for me. Because to hear Machine Gun in such a long, because, of course, my mother, buys my first guitar and I'm getting pretty good. But I'm like, between the Let's Go Crazy guitar solo by Prince and Jimmy just being Jimmy on every damn song that he did, I'm looking at my guitar at the time and I start crying. My mom was like, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Because my guitar can't do that." This is me learning. This is me learning. So I'm thinking,
Right.
like, you gonna
It's in
buy
the
this
hands,
electric
man.
guitar and it don't sound like what I'm hearing from Prince and Hendrix, especially after the Band of Gypsies record. And of course, shout out to one of my other teachers who was my mom's boyfriend and one of the baddest Southside Jamaica Queens musicians. He's a legend in our community as far as that goes. The one and only Mike Belly, rest in peace. That
Mm-mm.
man bought me my first distortion pedal, and that changed everything. Like, it's like any other kid that plays guitar. I plugged up. Once he showed me how to use it, and I hit that first A chord,
Mm.
and heard the shit that I finally wanted to hear, like the other guys, and I'm gonna say this, it sounds weird. It made me play better. Why? Because when a young kid is into, especially for a guy like me that doesn't use a pick, it made me more interesting to be able to find where I was. If it wasn't for that Band of Gypsies album and me really honing in on the sound I was trying to get out of my guitar. Because, like I said, Purple
Yeah.
Rain was an influence, but Purple Rain was more of a studio album that had, of course, Baby I'm a Star and Purple Rain was live, but not a lot. It's still not a live album. It's mostly
Yeah.
whereas Band of Gypsies is them changes and Machine Gun. Who knows? And we got to live together. And I'm just
Mm.
listening to Hendrix, and it's just him. There's no overdubs. It's just him. on guitar, power trio. So yeah.
I'm gonna play
Right.
devil's advocate. You didn't pick Live at Maui
Well, that version.
'cause when they cleaned it up, because you know, right there in Haleakala Mountain, that box set on Live at Maui is fucking fire,
I'm
man.
so glad they remastered that because
Yeah.
his version of Foxy Lady on that's the best live version. That's the one
Yes, sir.
where a lot of this stuff, it's so funny when when I first heard it, I didn't know how to do it at first, but like that whole thing, and they try to give Eddie Van Halen, who I love, he's in my top 10.
Mhm. Mm.
It's like, oh, he's a master finger tap. I said, well, he's one of the master finger tap, but let's not get crazy here. He ain't the first one to do it. That was being done way before he made it.
California.
Thank you. He
Right.
made, what Van Halen did he made the art the same way how
Yep.
Roger's not the first guy to use a talk box, but once he got done with it, it was never the same. He definitely, Stevie Wonder did it before him, but
Mm.
Roger Troutman did it to the point where it became a lead. And
And
Incredible.
Teddy was the one who piggybacked on that.
yes, for the
Absolutely.
younger generation, that was even after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's only fair that we ask Tonya to answer her question.
Please, I
Yes,
wanna hear
answer
this.
your own
Her favorite live album.
Come on now.
Boy, I have a couple, but the first one that comes to mind is Sam Cooke live at the Harlem Square.
Woo!
Okay.
That to
Woo!
me is just brilliant. The clarity, his tone, his engagement with the audience, medley what he does for sentimental reasons.
Oh,
That
You know what?
that did it
Not mad at
That-
you.
for me.
Kanye
Yeah,
ain't
man,
playing
it's a-
fair.
And then a close second is Miles Davis live at Montreux in Quincy.
Yes. Yes.
See what I mean?
Yeah, but definitely Sam Cooke live at the Harlem Square Club. Close third, since you're asking, Gladys Knight and the Pips live at the Roxbury.
Ooh,
Okay.
nice.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now that
Yeah.
we're adding more than one, how about BB
To
King
hear
live at the
Dionne-
Regal?
I'm sorry, let me just say this. To have
Sorry.
Dionne Warwick come up and sing Landlord
Right.
with Gladys
I remember. Yeah.
off the
Oh my God. You're
like
No, I'm sorry. I steamrolled right over that. That's a brilliant choice.
You added more. So everybody, now we all adding to the mix.
BB
Extra
King
stuff,
live at the
right?
Regal. BB King live at the Regal
Oh.
Theater. How can you knock that one?
I'm so glad I was able to tell Mr. He used to be at our house a lot when we lived on the West Coast. Because
No, he wasn't.
him. Well, I mean,
It.
let me get even deeper for you.
Please.
I probably might have told this story. I don't know if I did, but Ty knows the story. So I'm living on the West Coast between LA. LA's my second home, but at the time my granddad moved to Tucson. So me and my older brother, Casino Chick, we the hood boys out there. My cousins move out there. Then my mom ended up staying for a year. She leaves me there, then comes back to Brooklyn. So
Yep.
mind you, all of my grandfather's legendary friends, when they would stop in the town to do shows, whether it was the Young Rascals, these are all his students,
Mhm.
Young Rascals, Benny King, Mr. Standby Me himself, BB King would come in and just be sitting there on my couch, just literally chilling. And then one day, I come home from school. This is about, around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I walk in and I see my grandfather sitting next to Albert Collins, who I only knew from Adventures in Babysitting, because in this part of the movie, no
We
one
used about Master.
so basically,
Yeah.
I walk in and I'm like, I'm starstruck. I'm like, that's it. And then all of a sudden, he's like, "How you doing, son?" So all of a sudden, Grant's like, "Hey, Albert, meet my grandson Lawrence. He just like you." Why's that, Sam? Because he don't use a fucking pick either. Oh, you don't? So literally, they both. Now, mind you,
And you got to tell him.
now, mind you, yeah, exactly. Now you know. So the thing is that
I know.
they sitting there. They got both ants. They're sitting on both of the ants that my grandfather had in the house. Is right next to the kitchen. So they're plugged up. I heard the noise. I'm thinking it's just him doing it, but I'm hearing laughter. I'm like, who else is in the house? So all of a sudden, he's like, "That's okay, son, because I don't use a pick either, but they call me the master of the Telecaster." Did this
Oh,
whole
come
blues
on,
riff,
man.
did a whole blues riff like that, because you gotta remember, right before that, I knew that I was getting comfortable with the fact that I was different from all other guitar players, because at the time I didn't discover that Lindsey Buckingham, that Mark Knopfler,
Knopfler.
that Tony Maiden. So at the time I didn't know. So my thing is seeing Uncle Albert do it in front of me. After that day, I was already relentless with my practice and my rehearsal. I did it 4 hours a day, including bass and everything else. After that day, you couldn't tell me nothing. And I'm so glad that I was able not to be in the same room with just him and my granddad, but also got to see them on stage together. There's a few pictures I posted with them on stage together on my Instagram and my Facebook.
Yeah.
So I had to share that with you because, him and BB King were very close too. One of the last shows that my grandfather did with him because BB passed away not too long ago after that. And I
Mm.
had a chance to tell him about that Regal album because that was one of the main albums
Oh,
that I
yeah.
studied. Because he always be like, "Yeah, BB's my guy. I love him, even though he don't play chords, but he can be. But he's the master of the fucking string bending thing. He is. No one can bend a string like BB can. But my grandfather hated the fact that BB didn't play chords. Wasn't a chord player.
He made up for it in his guitar playing, and
Oh,
may I
absolutely.
also say his
Yeah.
singing voice. "I've been downhearted, baby." I
Oh,
mean, he
no,
was
no.
just, oh,
Listen.
when he growl,
I mean, not even
I mean,
growl. I mean, because you got to remember a lot of that. This not to be too educational as I can be sometimes. Everything that you hear in that goes back to what my grandfather always said. The only other thing before blues and jazz is gospel.
yeah,
My legendary uncle, my grandfather's older brother, the legendary Reverend Charles Taylor. So when I say I got it honestly, because they'll tell you in certain shows, certain songs, every night, even on my corporate gig, they'd be like, "Wow, Lord went to church that time." I said, "I can go to church anytime I want."
yep,
It's in my bloodstream.
yes, sir.
But my grandfather is from church, but like all his other friends, like Buddy Guy, who we still have, thank God we still have him here. As we
God bless him, 90 years old.
90 years old, still out here. Outlived most of the guys that he came up with. So the thing
Yes.
is, it's all there. So I had to interject because you
Okay.
saying that it just brought me back to the
Yeah.
time that I had a chant. When I sat there with BB King, all
Mm.
those times I would tell him, I said, "Mr. King, I just got to tell you, I used to listen to the record." He said, "Oh, thank you, young man." He said, "Well, you're doing a good disservice. You got taste, but after being with your granddad, I can kind of see why." And then he was able to hear me play. He was like, "You got some shit, son." I'm like, "Oh wow."
Look at that.
You can't. I mean,
And
between him and Albert Collins, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better front seat education, more so
yeah,
critical acclaim. Like I always say, it's one thing when your fans and your friends and your people say, "Hey, Ma," but when your heroes, the very men that you looked up to, when they give you the props and that recognition, I mean, you see it on my page all the time. I know people be
yeah,
getting annoyed and I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. The thing is, I'm gonna always live in that because we're losing our legends more now at a
by
rapid
the
pace than we've
it,
ever
Never
Yeah.
had
have.
before. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
when we in these Tanya, when we be in these rooms, I mean, we call it what you want. I'm like, listen, we getting pictures. If there's room for a conversation, we'll have it. But the thing is that even if I don't get a conversation, just to be able to have 5 or 10 minutes in that moment with any one of my heroes, my heart is full because I might not see him again. We may
yeah.
do a show together.
Amen.
We may be here, and
Hey,
you
um,
have to be in that.
yep.
Yeah.
When I went to see Robert Plant recently, I said, the guy's 77, soon to be 78 in the summertime, and I said, go see him now
Yes.
because who knows? So, Law, I want to ask you, and this is for Tanya as well, since both of you have been involved in one way or the other with D'Angela Duff and the Polished Solid
Yes.
brand.
It's my girl.
And mainly, you aligned your show that you're going to pay tribute to our dear fallen funk Purple Yoda Prince. You aligned your show with the symposium that she's putting on, not only celebrating, well, yeah, celebrating the 10th anniversary of his passing because we have to celebrate the music first and foremost. We're
Absolutely.
all still grief stricken that he's no longer with us in the flesh, but we have to celebrate the fact that he left us such a legacy. What does it mean to each one of you, having been directly involved in Law? I know you're going to be on one of the panels, but Tanya, you moderated many of a symposium for D'Angelo. What does this mean to you? I mean, I know you aligned your show, Law, for the symposium to line up with it. What
Mm.
does this symposium and D'Angelo and the whole thing mean to you?
Well, let me say this. First of all, shout out to D'Angela.
Yeah.
I get emotional when I do talk about her too, because the thing is, you know, when you've been in the industry as long as I have, everybody always saying, Tanya always teases me. He's like, "Oh, he imitations," and I put up stuff, and that's because I'm passionate. And she's the only one that can joke with me like that. Everybody else, I look at you like you're stupid. But the thing is, she's earned,
Ah,
yeah, she's earned that. So the thing is, you know, people will always ask me, "Damn, Lord, man, they need to have you on these panels. They need to put you like when they talk about P Funk and all this stuff, considering your family history, Crown Heights affair, and those guys are your uncle, and blah, 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 blah." And they'd be very shocked at my answer. I said, "They know how to find me. I'm right here. I'm not elusive. I make it very clear. I'm very much involved in the community, especially when it comes to the New York City scene, because we're part of it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you would think that with and this is no shade to the P Funk camp. You would think because of my 28-year history with George and those guys, when they have these little one-off things that they do around the country and nobody calls me. And I don't trip, I leave it where it is because, sometimes I think that sometimes, in my personal opinion, God's rejection is sometimes protection, depending on what we're dealing with. That's
Mm,
my own personal take on it. It's not shade, I'm
mm,
just being honest.
mm.
So when D'Angela came, because we had known each other for some time, and I would watch the symposiums, and I'm just like, man, see, I would love to be a part of something like that. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
considering, you know, everybody knows if they didn't know how much of a Prince historian I am, and then considering that most conversations I have with fans, they'd be like, "See, Law, yeah, I love chaos and disorder too." Like, yeah, I'm rallying for that. So it's almost like I've built such a thing within my own fan base where the Prince fans, we can talk about stuff, not gossipy shit. We would talk about the music and just talk about, well, what do you feel? What would you think
Yeah.
was his best guitar solo? Or, things like that. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure some fans would love to hear a perspective from someone like me with my reputation and my resume. So
Yeah.
when she reached out to me 2 years after I started noticing, and I've been a part. I think this is going to be my fourth one. I think fourth or fifth one, and the support is there. So it means that, first of all, just even her doing, just the fact that someone like her creates this symposium and this
Yeah.
conglomerate of people to where we celebrate the albums and we talk about the history, and then we get to give our viewpoints and even different opinions. Some people can be like, well, I hate Shake from Graffiti Bird. That's one of my favorite songs. So then we have a nice debate without, tearing each other down and
Yeah.
things like that. And then we have that. So she created this amazing space for
Yes,
her.
she
So for
has.
me to be a part of it, it felt good because she and a couple of other people who I can't name off the top, they invited me to their platforms to speak. So I'm forever indebted. I'm forever grateful. I'm forever thankful for D'Angela for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of it. That's what
And
it means to me.
and here's the thing again with Law. Law has been in the game for so long and he's seen some things. He knows
Mm,
some things. And you know, when you know so much and you're involved, in my case, well, let me finish this thought. It's good to have someone from a different perspective as opposed to having some of the same people over and over and over
That
again
part. Mhm.
to come in and do something that is so special to a lot of us
mhm.
Yes.
to put a different twist on, and Law brings that
Thank
to
you.
the panel.
That's on purpose, by the way. Thank you.
And no, he didn't pay me for that. You
That's
don't get a
that's
I
real.
don't get a new car or anything. No, I'm just telling it, just speaking real
Thank
facts.
I appreciate
Me, okay, I'm of a certain age and I don't really have filters anymore, so I'm just gonna say what I need
say
to
it.
say.
Say it.
There are some people who say that they are insiders and, they can say, oh, I was there at Tramps when Prince sneezed and his sneeze fell on my tay at 7:38 p.m. on a Friday. Those aren't the kinds of things a lot of us are interested in. And what D'Angela brings to the symposium is a lot of the academic part of it, a
Yes.
lot of the knowledge. There was one that I'm not gonna lie, I was like, "Oh, Lord, I'm gonna have to sit through this." And it was about no, I'm serious. I was like, "Oh, I gotta sit through this like I'm in class." And it was about I forgot the guy's name, but he was talking about the history of the Linen Drum.
Okay.
And I was actually fascinated by it. It was good. And, those type of things, the technicalities of the music. Of course, having people who were there surrounded by him are always good because you get to see another side. And,
Absolutely.
D'Angela has that ability to
Yeah.
bring in people who
Oh, yeah.
either have been around him or who have experienced his greatness
Mm,
and put it in their own perspective.
mm.
And for that, and I was flattered that she asked me to participate and moderate some of those panels. I'm not doing it this year, but she's always and D'Angelo and I have this phrase, iron sharpens iron. And we always say that about each other because she's doing her thing and she's been very supportive of the events that I've done. After a while, I hope that there is someone when/if she retires that will be able to pick up the mantle and carry this on because it's interesting. Being around children the way I am, I hear it a lot. oh, who's better, Michael Jackson or Prince? And the kids like, Michael, Michael, Michael. They're like, oh, Prince was a girl. He wore his underwear outside, and you know, and they're kids. And sometimes I would just want to yank them up and slap them, but I can't
Yeah.
because
Right.
they don't know any
They
better.
don't
And
know
I
any better.
realized after I had a conversation with myself, I said, "Self, this is the difference between the two. Prince musically was more sophisticated than Michael. Hashtag debate your mammy.
Uh-huh. That
His
part.
his style was more sophisticated than Michael's. His output definitely outweighs Michael's, but they are both two of the goats of all time.
Sure.
Much.
You can't take it away from them.
Nope.
So I say all that to say, the symposiums are important.
Yes, they are.
They are important,
Yeah.
and it's a chance to learn something new about the man himself, and I'll just leave it at that.
Say the greatest thing that's I mean, if there's one positive outcome from Prince's passing, if there is such a thing, is the sense of bonding and community where the four of us are here together right now is a small part of that.
Oh, hell
But
yeah.
Right.
the sense of family and community that has been brought
Born
about
from that.
because
Yep.
we're all sharing in the grief together. Why else did we do this podcast to begin with?
Mhm.
I just started podcasting after, well, a couple years after he passed.
Mhm.
And then COVID was where, for many of us, is that cemented that. And I've probably learned more about Prince in the last 10, particularly 5 years, but certainly the decade that he's passed, that we're the symposia to piggyback on what you said, Tanya, the symposia are important. Podcasts about him are important. Documentaries, if done responsibly, are important.
Mm.
Is because we want to keep it, as a friend of ours said recently, want to keep it on the children's lips. The only way you're going to be, and I see so many people shit on. I'm just going to say it. Prince wouldn't have wanted this. Prince wouldn't have wanted that. Prince wouldn't have wanted his songs on Stranger Things. Prince wouldn't have wanted. How the hell else are you going to keep his name on children's lips? If you eh, say what you want about the estate, positive or negative, they created some opportunities for his names to be kept on children's lips. Dancing with the Stars, and they didn't. And I give them respect. They did some deep cuts on that. They did Adore, and no, 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 they did Slow Love,
Yeah.
and I
One of my
think, wow, wow was used from Third Eye Girl.
favorite.
I handed to these people that they weren't just. That's a sign of respect. Somebody knew what they were doing.
Well, shout out
Okay.
to my big brother Ray Chu.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's I know I'm part of Ray Chu, man.
right.
So
God damn,
Ray
I forgot
Chu,
about that. That Law, who
grandpa.
don't you know? You're like my Kevin Bacon. You're my brother Bacon. That's what I'm gonna call you from now on, brother Bacon. You're like the Kevin Bacon of this musical universe,
So
dude.
shout out to my Harlem Brand Projects big brother. That's the reason why, because Ray's gonna always borrow from these different components and everything like that. As you know, he's one of the greatest MDs, musicians, whatever you want to call it, in the
Right.
world. So that's
Forgot about
so
that.
there you go.
Well, folks, this has been amazing to have both you, Law, and Tanya. You always add this extra layer of goodness whenever you come on the podcast. The both of you, this is just fireworks. It ain't even 4th of July yet, and there's fireworks in the background,
Thank
not
you.
just on Jay's background screen there. So I just can't thank you enough. Once again, folks, Law is going to be at the Cutting Room,
Yes, indeed.
April 17th. Is that 7:30?
8:30.
8:30. We'll get there early because
How
you
much
gotta
a
get
ticket?
in there. Yeah, how much?
Yeah. It's I'm glad you gave me that open bar for that, because I'm gonna tell people tickets are $30. Um, first come, first serve, because it's not like the other places where they usually have a seating thing. You have to get there to get your seats. So that's the
Okay.
best way to say it. And there's going to be room for dancing, because even though I believe in the part of listening to the music, and even though I don't expect nobody to dance off of one of the slow songs that we're doing, it's more so going to be a party. So feel free to come. We have Planet 12 merch available, including the vinyl of Lost Thick Girly Girls, which is pretty much low on supply.
Ooh.
So for people coming to the show,
I have to
gotta
interrupt you
get it.
folks for just a minute. There's a breaking something's happening here.
Uh,
Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
what could be happening?
I don't know, Jay.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Is it somebody we know?
Surprise.
Wait, hold up.
You came at the Tony, you are like your rhymes. You come in just at the right time, my man.
Dude, oh my
Listen, let me
God,
tell you
man.
something. I just saw the link and I was like, dang, I emailed, just said, was this Thursday or next Thursday? I had my times all messed up. So
Oh, don't worry about it, man. It's all good.
I thought I'd just give it a shot.
You gave it a shot.
T-Boogs. We got T-Boog in the building. We got
You don't
all
know how to
my
return
little
text
bro.
messages, man.
I'm
Huh?
excited now.
You
This is
can't
crazy.
return text messages.
Bro, see, I didn't come here to get blessed.
That's the North Side mini muff. See?
No. So it's all good.
I want to jump in here and just drop some knowledge. Tony, it's good to see you, brother. And
See you, partner.
I think that, we might have had a conversation with Tony a couple of nights ago.
We did
leave it-
indeed.
I'll
And
just-
Law, I'll pick this up for you, Jay. Law, we talked about the fact that you two were collabing on a little something something. And Tony, you were so gracious in saying, "Hey man, if I can pop on there and surprise him, hey."
Oh,
and there's no such thing as coincidence because we literally were wrapping up saying our goodbyes, and my man sneaked in at the 11th hour.
yes.
Oh, were you really? You got
It's
good.
cool.
That's-
You talk about a cherry on the Sunday, man. You like Luxardo in my Manhattan.
Yo, Kurt be knowing, man. That's what Kurt.
Goes on.
Yeah, man, it's all good. I'm blessed. I cannot complain. Wouldn't do no good anyway, right? So we just
Right.
keep it moving.
That
Right?
part. That
Um,
part.
No, I just wanted. He told me who was coming. Kurt told, and they told me who was coming on, and I just said, listen, if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna pop my head in. And Jay David was like, what? I said, yeah, I'm just gonna stop in on them and just say what's happening real quick. Just because T-Books is getting on me about not returning text messages and
Oh,
and everything,
You
so I'm
know
come here and
what?
say, darling, how you doing, love?
Daddy.
Love, bruh, law. Come on now. My favorite peoples. Come on.
Same here. It's just the world isn't ready for what me and this guy's fitting to do, man. If you thought she can get it with something, it's just. I mean, we've spoken about it. We already got 1 or 2 songs in already. It's
Yep.
just again.
They're
Yeah,
waiting on me, y'all. They're waiting on me.
I'd be remiss if
I-
I didn't say what happens when you call the law. I'd be remiss if I didn't say. I said it. It said. I said what I said. I said what I
Well,
said. I
that's
said what
the
I said.
affinity. That's in my top 5 of my favorite.
Come on, man. I'm wearing that on my sleeve, man. That's a
That is
banger.
so-
No, I
that's
didn't know
so
Tony
funny.
at the time, but when I first got the single for "Money Don't Matter Tonight," because I remember I still have the cassette single. I still have.
Single. Yep.
So literally hearing this and the fact, I don't think it's going to be something like "Call the Law." I said, well, I mean, it has my name in it. I'm just being funny, and I think it's going to be some other Prince stuff, and all I hear is step to them. I'm just like, oh, shit. To this
Mhm.
day,
Here we go.
anytime, and that's going back. I mean, so now you understand why, because basically, from that point on, just as well as before it, with everything else it did on Diamonds, and that's the day that I became a Tony student. So for me, it's emotional. So for me, it's like every time when I go that, and it's funny because then years later we get close, we hang out, and then of course MPG has a show. So now when he does Call the Law, it hits differently because he'll come over to me.
Law, I was telling them
revel in
how
it every
crazy it
time.
was and how random it was that we ended up chatting, right? I just happened to be going through some stuff on Facebook or whatever, and then
Yeah.
this cat pops in and goes, "Man, I just want you to know." I'm like, "Who is this cat? What?" He knew the history, and I'm like, "What? Who is this? What? Wait a minute, you related, man?" And we just chopped it up and hooked it ever since.
Hey,
We've
man.
been out to Minneapolis, getting some tracks laid. I was telling them about McNass,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
books, and yeah, we got
Mm.
some things in the can, man. So it's they're waiting on me. I'm the one dragging it down.
The transparency is real. Cause see, I always try to be extra diplomatic with certain, but that's why I love my big brother so much because
I'll keep it real.
keeps it real. But the thing is that it's not a chastising thing of any kind because I'm a firm believer in things cooking. Remember what you said, Kurt, about the John Patitucci thing?
Yep.
Keep in mind, we were going to put that project out last year. We were trying to rush it, and something inside all 3 of us was like, you know what? We
It ain't
still got
ready.
more songs to do.
Got to let simmer.
Let's not rush it. Let's just keep putting it
Mhm.
together. And now here we are in this year. The project's done. The first 2 singles are out. And we've been putting up stuff with 3G Cypher Knots and everything else along with it. So now I'm just like, okay, it's the same thing with us. We just know that it's respectful because the homage of me and him doing this together is me paying homage to him and his major contributions to the Minneapolis sound and his heavy influence on me as an MC. So, I don't have to say nothing else because y'all know I go to war for that motherfucker at any given time. I've cursed people out. I'm like, you're not gonna do that with
That's
me.
facts.
They know.
Well, and
Hey.
it was, and I'm just going to give a little preview when Tony, Kurt, and I were talking the other night, and we actually brought up She Can Get It because we wanted to hear the story, and Tony said, "Law brought me out of retirement."
I sure did.
And for fans like us, me and,
Yep.
and the real players, it
Mhm.
was because we were down, Tony. We were down with you. We're good
Yep.
30 years or
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
You know,
Yep.
and then to have you come back, and it was like you were never. You started spitting
there are no
for a reason.
accidents. Exactly. It will happen in its time. Like I said, I didn't come in to interrupt, or I just wanted to surprise. I knew you were going to have the T Bugs in the building. I knew Law was on. I said, I'm just going to come in and say hello real quick.
Nah, man, that just made my whole fucking weekend, bro.
Deacon, you have provided the Lord's work tonight.
Oh, there it is.
Absolutely. Well, actually, Tony, don't go anywhere as we're wrapping up and saying goodbye. Hang out with us for a minute, okay?
Absolutely. Okay, so hey, we got you got your dessert at the end there, boys and girls. I mean, we've had one hell of a meal tonight. I can say that this has been a feast. Just in the highest possible order. I wish you all were closer so we could have some drinks together. But other than that,
soon enough.
We'll make it.
I already told you first round's on me, man. I already told you.
More drinks,
Yeah.
more drinks.
Just no purple drinks. My name is not,
Oh,
No.
you know what?
I can't roll with that cough. I can't roll with that cough medicine in my leg.
I am one for a nice double shot of Yamasaki. Oh yes,
I got some 12 down in the I got some 12 down in the crib. Come on over, man.
I
That's
got
that
a
OG
12 and an
shit.
18. The 18 I keep away. I got 2 bottles of 12s and a bottle of 18, and they only come out on special occasions.
I'll raise you with
That's
my
OG
Blantons.
shit right there, man.
Yeah, I got a Blanton's too, partner.
Okay. Which
Well, we
letters
can
you got
talk.
now?
See, we can talk, Kurt.
You know, Hucky and I met because of bourbon, right? I told you this.
No, I don't remember you telling me that. Yeah, that's
Brother,
right,
I know
'cause
my Colonel Taylor. I'll know my
listen,
Elmer T. Lee. Tell me what's
listen,
up.
This
Come
is
on.
deep. This
Huck
is
has the
deep.
whole collection. Now I hear that you do also.
I don't have
All in
Elmer
the
T. Lee.
family.
Elmer T. Lee is trash, man. I'd rather have Eagle Rare. Come on now. I know you're good. He's gonna give
No, it's just like I said. There are no accidents. There's a reason for everything.
Listen, I thought you were gonna chastise me that I kept running my mouth because
Oh, no.
I can't.
I'm going to do that now. Take us home first.
If you like what you heard and saw,
That's hilarious.
I just had On Your Six tonight earlier, Tony, just to share that. Shout out to the veterans because I knew you were coming, and since you served in the Corps, I was giving a little shout out. So I got
Fact.
On Your Six, brother.
Fact.
Okay.
So
Yes,
anyway,
yes, you did.
that's respect on that. Thank you for
Copy
your
that.
service. First of
Copy
all,
that,
first
partner.
and foremost, thank you for your service, not just the musically, but thank you for your service to this country. First and
Appreciate that.
foremost.
Appreciate it.
Miss Tonya Giddens, you are a national treasure, my lady. I
Yes,
can't
she
wait.
is.
And hopefully we get to see your loveliness, your velvet loveliness in person.
I'm
this,
still trying to get out to
next
that
weekend.
symposium.
Come on, man.
What's-
Angela wrote
You would
the liner notes for Diamonds and Pearls box set, for Christ's sake. You
would
should
change
be
the
there.
game if you do that.
Yeah, go in and guilt him, why don't you? But wrap this up so
Yeah, okay.
they don't get on you, Kurt.
Okay.
Wrap this up, honey.
Deacon Tony, she
Yes, sir.
keeps listen. We needed a real woman in the house to keep us boys together and
fact.
behaving.
Yeah.
She's my purple sister. Thank you, Tanya. You're awesome. I love you to death, and I don't care who knows it. Tony, we've only got to talk twice, and I feel like I've known you for a long time. Well, I mean, we did talk at the concert briefly, way back in the day, but man, nothing but love for you, man. You're
Appreciate you,
so
brother.
generous with your time and friends and the stories. Please keep them coming. Please write a book. Please put something out there because
They're on me about it, but you know what?
here's the thing, though. There's going to be a point where none of us are here, but your words matter about those times because you were a cog in an amazing machine.
Agree.
And you're like to those of us that I refer to the Revolution, Third Eye Girl. Y'all were moon missions. You were astronauts on a different space mission, and you know
Your
we need to
mission.
hear it, man. And you went through boot camp twice. You went through the Marine Corps. Which was harder? Which the Marine Corps? We can do that on another
So
episode.
we can do that on another one. But I know you guys are trying to wrap. I just want to say, send a shout out to you fellas for doing fantastic work and just love to my sister Tanya and my little bro Law.
Thank you, man. Nothing but love, man. And Law, speaking of which, man, cannot wait to see you do your thing and tear it up.
Cutting room. Let's go.
Let's man, I'm already there. I cannot wait. My bags are not packed yet, but I've got vacation already on my mind. I'm there the whole 3 days, but mind you, I'm there all 3 days. To the
And
bitter.
And
Yeah,
I'm going to
gentlemen,
apologize to
Jay,
get off of here, but I'm going to say T Books. I apologize for not replying to your Easter message, but I get back to the other one though, so I don't want to hear it.
All right.
All
That's
right,
fair.
all
That is
right,
fair.
all right, all right.
That's
I'm
fair.
out of here, y'all.
All right.
continue.
See you in a minute.
All right, baby.
Kurt, I'm going to finish your thought.
Yes.
Folks, if you like what you saw and heard, please do us a favor. Give us a subscribe, give us a like and a follow on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Music, wherever you hear your podcast or get your podcast, you will find the Electric Vibe. Every bit of support that you give us helps us have amazing guests like Law and amazing co-hosts like Sister Tonya. And we really appreciate all the support. As I like to say before I close out every episode, when the universe comes knocking, you have to answer that door. Peace.
Peace. And as I always like to end each episode, a rising tide lifts all boats. Be that rising tide for each other. Thank you.